Okay, let's take a closer look at that statement by the Israeli government when they agreed to the ceasefire announced by President Trump. In a statement, it says Israel thanks President Trump and the United States for their support in defense and their participation in eliminating the Iranian nuclear threat. In light of achieving the objectives of the operation and in full coordination with President Trump, Israel has agreed to the president's proposal. Israel will respond forcibly to any violation of the ceasefire. Israeli citizens must continue to strictly adhere to the Home Front Command's instructions until full compliance with the ceasefire is confirmed. Okay, let's get more with Ori Goldberg, is an Israeli political commentator. He joins us from Tel Aviv. Ori, so a very, very eventful sort of 12 hours or so. Let's begin with that statement from the Israeli government. What do you make of it, the fact that they have agreed to the ceasefire?
I think it's somewhat ridiculous, especially the stressing of the goals of the operation. It is really unclear, and that is to say the least, what Israel's goals were. I mean, over the past week, we've heard Israel talk about everything from the decapitation of the nuclear program to regime change. Yesterday, the day before, were spent bombing what Israel called symbols of the regime in Tehran, said absolutely nothing about the nuclear program. It's still completely unclear whether Iran's stockpile of fissionable material was hurt during the American attacks on Fordow and the other facilities. True, there's been damage to facilities, but it's not clear what has been done. And let's go back a little bit and remember that nothing had essentially changed in the situation between Iran and Israel. There was never an imminent, inevitable threat. This was a decision that through and through was made on the basis of political considerations, mostly domestic, some of them foreign, but all of them having to do with Gaza and not with an imminent threat from Tehran. So the statement trying to spin Israel's position at the moment after a very difficult morning here in Israel, the statement, I find it to be ridiculous at best.
Right. Let's get into that spin if we can. As you say, so many unanswered questions still about how much uranium Iran has. Clearly, we don't know. No one knows whether its nuclear program has been destroyed. Israel has been calling for regime change for days now. Why then have they agreed, do you think, to this ceasefire?
There are two reasons, and I would assume that both apply. The first is that they were finally told to agree. They were told by the Trump administration, and having decided to hitch the Israeli horse to the Trump wagon, Netanyahu had no choice. He decided to gamble on Trump coming to his rescue. Trump did, and Netanyahu was therefore obligated to assist in Trump's goal, which was, as it still is, ultimately securing a regional deal and not launching a regional war. And the second reason was that the damages were beginning to accrue in Israel. Israel is not doing well. Our famed air defense system managed to intercept a large number of the missiles launched by Iran on the Israeli home front, on the Israeli heartland. But a large number actually came through, and not only did they come through, they did very, very direct lethal damage. And Israel was running out of aerial interceptors, even if the United States would have agreed to fund them, or additional ones, which is not sure at all at the moment. But even if there was such an agreement, it would have taken time. I don't think Israel could have really borne the brunt of a long missile-based war of attrition with Iran. Israel could have continued to strike in Tehran. There are, as we know from Israel's experience in Gaza, endless targets should Israel choose to strike them, especially if Israel develops them, as the algorithmic language goes. But other than striking and killing and destroying, which Israel does with abandon in Iran as it does in Gaza, there are no strategic goals to be attained. And I believe that even Netanyahu came to the realization that that was true and decided to end when he was made an offer he couldn't refuse by the Trump administration.
Regardless of motivations or political motivations on any of the sides, do you think the ceasefire is going to hold?
I would Presume that it will. I'm cautiously optimistic. Again, there's absolutely no reason for anybody to expand what happened over the last 11 days to a regional war. The region doesn't want a war. And that includes both Iran and the Sunni Gulf monarchies and just about every other country. Even Israel, despite its desire for disruption and disorder, doesn't want a regional war, especially when it remains completely unclear whether Israel has managed to do serious damage to the Iranian nuclear program. And I believe that if all sides want some kind of regulated agreement, then it will ultimately be some kind of regulated agreement. I don't think we will see any kind of tit for tat as we saw over the past 11 days, unless there is a unilateral act without provocation, similar to the Israeli strike which began this war.
Yeah, interesting that point about provocation. I just want to ask, I mean, before this ceasefire was announced, the Iranian parliament said it was seeking to suspend cooperation with the nuclear watchdog, the IAEA. If they say they're going to continue to pursue this, what does Israel do next?
Israel is not a signatory to the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty. It's not in a position to do much of anything. But the Iranian parliament is, even if we consider it a democratically elected institution, which it is to some extent not, the Iranian parliament is hardline. That is the position that controls the Iranian parliament at the moment. The Iranian parliament does not make foreign policy decisions. That is up to the supreme leader and the president and the foreign minister, all of whom, by the way, function very efficiently as a team over this week and a half. I think it's a good point in which to reiterate what your Tehran correspondent said. The Islamic Republic comes out of this still standing, and that is, in many ways, a victory for the Islamic Republic. Okay. Its existence was never really in doubt.
Ori, thank you so much for your time. Ori Goldberg, Israeli political commentator, joining us there from Tel Aviv.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.